Here's my 150, 2008 Metropolitan. Here's my radiator with the plastic cover removed. Take off the 4 screws, and this is what it looks like. The only thing I found I had to disconnect was the 1 screw from here, so let me get at a bolt that's way in there. And there's another bolt that attaches the fender up on top of this plastic housing for this. And I'll show you all that. Here. Here's my old radiator. Here are this is what it looks like all together. Pull off the 4 little screws. Pull the cover off. Then what you have is you have 4 bolts. Here. 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 And there. Those 4 bolts. That's the only bolts you got to take off. What I found was, first you disconnect the hose. First you got to disconnect the hose. There's a spring clamp. This is the old hose that came with the used radiator that I bought. You got to disconnect the big hose, disconnect the 4 bolts. Now, let me explain something. This one top right-hand bolt is a bitch to get at. You got to do it with a socket. And what it is, I found I had to put my finger up there. There's a rubber hose that goes inside the engine that goes right over that. Really makes it hard to get at that sucker. So that's the one you're going to fight over and get off. Then once you take the 4 bolts off the bottom hose, you're going to slip the radiator out. And in the back, let's see if you can see. You can see you got 2 more hoses that connects. And those have little spring clamps. You're going to disconnect those, and the radiator comes right off. Now, one of the problems I had, this is what it's going to basically look like. The radiator, and you're going to have this tube sticking out. Or the tube might stay inside the engine too. What it is the tube has 2 O-rings on it, and it's a bent shape to it. Now, the trick I find that really goofed me up that you got to watch, when you put the new radiator back on, you want to take this tube, push that tube into that, and keep it lined. Push it in so that it seals good, and then you want to keep it at around a 45 degree to that bolt hole. Okay. Then what you're going to do is set the radiator roughly in place. You're going to connect the 2 top hoses, because there's still leeway to do that. This is actually this nut to attach a bolt to attach the back fender. You'll find it. You got to detach that one. All right. Then what it is you're going to take it and wiggle it in, and there's a hole that this is going to fit in. You'll see the hole where it came out of inside your engine. You want to make sure that goes into it, and that the flange of the radiator fits flush on the motor. Push it in tight. Again, getting that bolt in, you might want to try putting that bolt in before you do it, because like I say, it's really a bitch. I had to use forceps to hold on to the bolt. Let me show you. Let me show you what forceps are. These are forceps. Got them in a hospital. I used to work in a hospital. Now this isn't the bolt, the screws. These are the screws for the cover. I got the other bolt on. But this just shows you how you can clamp onto a bolt and then slip it in. Slip it into that top position. It's forceps come in handy. Alright, next steps I'm going to do, all I got to do, put the cover back on. Now I ran the scooter for a while to see if there was any leaks. Fill the radiator, I come up with this, just a funnel on a plastic hose. Put that inside the radiator with the cap off. Pour in a 50-50 mix of antifreeze and water. That's what they recommend. Then after that was filled, put the cap back on. Then, alright, as you can see, she's all back together again. All done, took it off for a test ride. Like I say, to reiterate, you're going to take the 4 bolts off. Let's see, to reiterate, you're going to take the 4 bolts off. One here, one here, one there, one there. This is the one that's the bitch. And you're going to have 1 bolt coming down that holds the back fender onto there. You got to disconnect. You're going to take those 4 bolts off, pull the radiator out a little. Oh, before you pull the radiator out, you're going to disconnect this big bottom hose. Then, after you take the 4 bolts off, you can pull enough away. You can get at and disconnect these 2 hoses here. Now, the only problem I had with this, I put it together, filled it up, leaking like a sieve. What I had originally done was taking this plastic tube and putting it in the engine. I found what I had to really do was make sure it was down inside the radiator plastic, and again at a 45 degree from that bolt hole. .45 from the bolt hole. You can see how it curves out toward the inside of the radiator. And then there's O-rings on there, and that goes into the engine. And you tighten them down. My suggestion is put it all together, put the 4 bolts, put the hoses on, then fill the radiator, because like I say, this is the only place here that I found that I had put this in the engine first and that in when I was putting this on, and I think you really got to put that on first so it really seals in a good, then this one seals better into the engine.